Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. The beautiful gentleman next to me, his name is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Oh, do we have some stuff to talk about, people of The Second Legacy. It was a busy weekend on the internet. We've got to catch you up because it is Monday, and we are due to set this week out right, and I thank you so much for being here. So, Tim, before we even get into this, my man, how is life? How are things? What's up? Let's hit it.
Well, let's see. What do we have coming up? Deer season. So... it's getting a little brisk around here. Wake up in the morning,
nice.
We get the high 50s, high 40s, low 50s, and, the deer running around, and I'm getting that urge, man. Getting that urge. Dude. Get ready to go into the rut.
Yeah, if you've never done that, it's a different thing. It's a religious experience. It's fantastic.
It is.
Man, I'm a little jealous right now because you guys got that mid latitude going on. You've got that crispness. Yeah, that's what
it makes the deer run around like crazy. They just they love it. We all love it. Everybody's running around feeling their oats. So.
That's a different story for a different time, Tim, because
even Lone Bober,
the internet wasn't that on fire. Yeah. Oh, wow. That was too soon. That was too... Oh,
yeah.
Man. Oh, the illustrious Lauren Boebert. Yeah, the internet was on fire with that one, too. I'm gonna. You know what? That does qualify. Yeah. That does count.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Tim, before we even get into anything, I think we owe the producer some credit. Mr. Producer, if you'll recall, Tim, in our episode on Thursday, we talked about the judge that handed down the TRO for New Mexico, and I challenged Mr. Producer to make a mix match of the judge himself, and then you mentioned something grunge, so I went with Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. Yeah. That's the original judge you're seeing. That's number 4. Mr. Producer, show what you're capable of. Look at this. That is Kurt Cobain and Judge Urias coming together for a deep cut of freedom. That's what that is.
If you haven't seen the episode we're talking about, it's I said that the judge, because he's anti-gun, but he made the right decision in the court, but you could tell by his voice inflection that it was very downbeat, and we're just going to have to do this. I said it's very grungish, like grunge music, which has that downbeat.
Yeah.
And then you brought up Kurt Cobain, and then Mr. Producer did that. So.
Boom. Man, he knocked it out of the park, so credit to him. Give him some love in the comments. But now, yes. Tim, this is massive, and I'm sure you're down with it. I mean, this is so breaking, Tim. It turns out that the NRA has sued the governor of New Mexico after all the fights have been won.
We're saved. The NRA comes to save us yet again. This goes back to Heller, and they've tried to bury this, but the NRA spent its due-paying members' money to fight to keep Heller from being heard by the Supreme Court. They did not want it to go to the Supreme Court. Then, when the Supreme Court decided to hear Heller, then they said, okay, and they jumped in on everybody else's lawsuit. And then at the end, when we won, they claimed victory. So this is not out of their wheelhouse. They've been doing this for many, many years. And then we just had the brace issue where the GOA, FPC, I think SAF, they got injunctions for their members by suing. And then the NRA goes, weeks later, after the injunctions were given, they go, hey, we want to jump on this lawsuit. Hey, and the judge like, hey, go file your own lawsuit, NRA. We see what you're doing. And it's like, and here we go again. Mexico governor does something, tyrannous, and GOA and FPC and everybody else files lawsuits, gets an injunction, but this time it's not just for their members, it's a blanket injunction covering all New Mexicans. Yep. And the NRA shows up a day late and $1 short and goes, hey, we filed a lawsuit too.
No, hold on. Tim, you got to do this right, though. You got to do this right because there was some gusto in this. Like, there was some There was, mic drop. All right, so Mr. Producer's got it up. This is number 2. NRA sues New Mexico Governor LaJuan Grisham. See you in court, said NRA ILA Executive Director Randy Kozik. The court was literally adjourned. It's like this was already done. The governor has moved on, has reissued another order. We're not even going to litigate it right now. But, NRA, what are you doing?
But the governor's response, our response is predictable. Like, good going, NRA. Day late, $1 short, last one to the party. And then her response, oh my gosh, Mr. Producer, throw this one up. This one's just too funny.
Oh, it's so great. And it's so simple. I'm not a fan of her at all. But, Twitter cred. She does get Twitter cred for this one. She just responds, "You're a little late to the party." At NRA.
I know. And I love it because it diverts the attention away from the actual gun rights organizations. You know, like Davey Hogg and all these dolts get out there and they're like, "Oh yeah, the NRA, we're fighting the NRA." The NRA's fighting itself. It has they don't even have anybody in DC anymore, it seems like. And
it's bad.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you know, everybody else is doing the heavy lifting, and NRA is just back there, you know, like, "Hey, I heard, you know, GOA filed a lawsuit last month. Oh, see if we can get on that lawsuit." "No, we can't." "Well,
no, don't." But we're here. We'll see you in court.
We'll see you in court
for what?
NRA is here to save the day. Well,
what?
they already have an injunction, NRA.
Oh,
Thanks, though.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. But maybe the next one. You know what's interesting about this before we move on? Because we got a lot of things we're going to cover today. What's interesting about this is this, Tim, reminds me and kind of reinforces the idea that there's an old gun world status quo and there's a new status quo. And when you're looking at pretty much a business environment or a business ecosystem, you're looking at smaller firms that are coming up and they are very nimble and they are quick and they are hungry and they go like day of. And then there's the big giants who take like 9 years to turn the ship and they're putting out lawsuits after TROs are already secured by the young guns that are out here. I mean, like multiple.
Well,
this whole lawsuit had 5 plaintiffs on it.
Well, here's the other thing, though. You know, everybody thinks the NRA is this massive behemoth. They have lost so many members, it's crushing them, right?
Yes,
they'll still claim 5
million,
million, but they're claiming people that died 40 years ago, right? So then you have groups like Gun Owners of America. They're not small. They have millions of subscribers.
Yeah, of
I think they're coming up on 3 million subscribers. They have lots of support. So they are the big behemoth, but they're still nimble because they aren't out there trying to buy Wayne LaPierre $40,000 suits. They're actually out there trying to stop this and improve our gun rights. See, I'm firmly convinced, and this is my opinion, but I believe the NRA does not want landmark decisions like Heller, McDonald, Bruin, because that makes it hard to fundraise. They can't go out there and say the sky's falling when we're winning. And so they want to keep the gun controllers going because that's how they make their money. Groups like GOA and FPC, all they care about is making all the gun controllers lose and go away. And then Eric Pratt is more than happy to go back to being a school teacher, right? So there's 2 different dichotomies at play there. NRA is just into self-preservation and you know, private jets and all that stuff. And then you have the actual gun rights groups.
Well, you know, it's so interesting that you say that because it's almost like that there's a profit motive for certain groups, certain senators, certain Democrat or Republican party. It's almost like there's a profit motive to keep the rights in limbo up in the air and never find a solution because it continues and guarantees your own success.
It benefits both sides.
Almost like collusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird.
Strange.
But you know, Tim, you are so good. You must have done YouTube before because you set me up sometimes for these segments. Like the next segment right now, you nailed that, talking about winning. So there's a little known person on the internet. I'm sure you heard about him. His name's Tim Poole. You know, he's not everywhere. Well, Tim said something around gun rights, and I want to get your reaction because I think this is funny. Mr. Producer, could you hit number 1 for me?
For decades, we have expanded the right to keep and carry arms, keep and carry, to bear and keep. Oh man, I'm all over the place. We've expanded the rights to bear arms, to carry, to possess, and people need to understand that you go back before 2008, it was still very difficult. So victory upon victory. The move made by this governor was a death throw. It was pure desperation. And even after she did it, a bunch of dudes showed up in Albuquerque and were like, nah. And they showed up armed. They're losing. They know they're losing.
Okay, your immediate thoughts on that, Tim, because this is a big point we talk about.
Yeah, he's 100% right. He even sees it, right? And he doesn't live in it like we do. And also, I want to quickly, defend Tim a little bit there. He stumbled over, the right to keep and bear arms. It's difficult when you're live streaming to not misspeak. It's difficult even when you're recording 100%. Not to misspeak. So don't hammer him too hard for that. I'm sure he knows what the Second Amendment, how it reads. I'm sure he's aware of the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, this is a death throw. This is them desperately clinging and clutching to anything they possibly can. When you go out and you push your powers to the limit, and in this case, past the limit into tyranny, you're doing that out of desperation. You don't typically want to bring that type of heat to yourself. And these people are going out there doing these crazy things because they feel that they have no other option. Mm-hmm. But what they're doing, as we've pointed out many times before, is shooting themselves in the foot. When you don't go at things strategically and you go at them with anger and emotion, you're going to come up short every time. And they're not thinking critically anymore. They're not even, I don't even think there's much of a strategery, George Bush, to this anymore. It's just do whatever you can. It's like every man for themselves. They're out there just doing every crazy thing they possibly can. Maybe there's a strategy there in trying to overwhelm the courts. I don't know. But good grief. It's if Tim Poole can see the desperation, everybody should be able to see that desperation. Because again, he doesn't live and breathe the 2A.
I agree. I agree completely. Because the thing that I like about Tim, and whether you agree with him or you don't agree with him, I'm not saying that he's perfect or he's not perfect. I'm completely separating from that. But what he's observing, that's the key here. Everything that we've been talking about, as Tim just alluded to, is they are reacting almost like a rudderless ship. Okay, that's a good example, right? So if you look and back out what we've seen since the Bruin decision, that threw them for such a loop. You've got gun control groups searching high and low for ways to get around the Bruin decision to satisfy the history, text, and tradition that Clarence Thomas put in there. You have different governors doing different things and trying to be creative, and these bans and this ban and this ban and this sensitive place. If you zoom out and you look at what all these governors are doing in their own directions and just watching what's happening, this is not a strategy of coherence. This is a strategy of complete just random nature. That's really what we're seeing, and they're going to find more and more defeat because this is a key point. When doors shut on them, they got to keep on getting them open. Yes. Anyway, continue. What were you saying?
I just think it's funny. We were joking about Buffy over at CNN with the New Mexico governor interview, reading to her the Second Amendment in their own state's constitution, Article 2, Section 6, reading to her saying, you can't do this either by the state constitution nor the federal constitution. What do you think is going to happen here? I mean, when CNN does that, I mean, at that point, the courts have so definitively defined our Second Amendment rights, saying you have an unalienable, unquestionable right to be armed outside of the house, to carry that firearm in self-defense anywhere you go. We have such strong rulings now that even CNN has to be somewhat journalistic now. And ask those hard questions.
Somewhat. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah, somewhat.
Let's not get crazy. Somewhat.
They have moments of lucidity, but not many. But
that's very, very few. Well, it's amazing what getting hit in the pocketbook will do to you, Tim.
Losing your ratings.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
it's really weird how that continues to happen.
We might actually have to become a news organization, folks. Let's circle the wagons.
Yes, that's not good. That's not good. But you guys still have MSNBC. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And NPR.
Well, they're all wound up because Trump got interviewed on MSNBC, and now all the leftists are going bonkers over that. That's a different topic.
Can't do that. Can't do that. Can't let people see him. There's democracy to stake.
It's almost like there's a federal law that says you have to give equal airtime to both parties during a campaign.
Weird.
It's almost like that, but somehow these leftist loons don't catch that. The media's not doing it. Anyway.
Yeah,
I'm getting off on tangent. Let's not do that.
Tangent. That is a minefield. Like I see all these mines. It's not good. It's not good. So we're gonna do a Yui. We're gonna do a Yui.
Go back out the way we came in.
Exactly. Yeah. Just out the way we came in. That's right. So I want to bring something up that I think the people a little bit behind the scenes will like. To something that Tim said, and I alluded to this in my video when I covered this. When you are live streaming or when you're doing a recording, it's very difficult. If you make one mistake and you catch yourself, it's very hard to halt, correct, and then go forward. It's very difficult. Yeah. I mean, you should hear some of my intro mess ups on this channel and some of Tim's outro mess ups. They are hilarious. But like once you go off the wheel or the road, it's kind of like you just got to keep going. But anyway,
that tire I just thought that was funny. Sucking you into the ditch. You're trying to save it. Like I can't.
You're not getting out. I'm
just moving on.
It's like yeah, exactly. So I love that he showed that and he kind of highlighted that. But now, Tim, I think it's time. It's time to move in to something that has been quite the hullabaloo on this Monday, the Liberty Safe thing. Now, I'll be the first one to say it, Tim, and you can reiterate this with me. We are not looking to destroy anything. What we're about to do is we're about to add commentary to something that looks bad, and you guys can make up your own mind. Because Tim mentioned this in the pre-show, and I think this is an important thing to say. I don't want to have the illusion of us trying to destroy anything, because that's not what we're doing. I think it's something that we need to analyze, and you guys can make up your own mind in the comments below. Let us know what you think. But I mean, Tim, I think that's a pretty good cover,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
That's pretty much where we're going.
Got
Right?
some flack because I said in one of our previous videos we're not out there calling for boycotts. That's because you don't need me to tell you what to do. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a boycott. I'm just saying we're not. Second Legacy isn't going to take a position like that. We're a commentary channel. We talk about news items. You're adults.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking adults. You figured out how to turn your computer on and watch a live stream. You're intelligent. You can make up your own minds. We'll give you the facts, and you decide if you want to go out there and call for a boycott or not. We're not saying don't do that. We're just saying we're not taking those positions. But on the internet, the criticism is free flowing.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think we put nice guide rails here. We got a nice little fence, probably a picket fence. I would go with white myself, but I think we're good. So now let me just catch everybody up. If you guys are not familiar with the Liberty Safe fiasco that's going on, here's like very high level. And Tim, if I don't fill anything, feel free to jump in. So very high level here, people. We had a situation where the FBI wanted a warrant on somebody they were doing something that they wanted information on. I'm not going to get into it. Doesn't matter. But the whole crux of the issue that started this was they contacted Liberty Safe, and Liberty Safe had a protocol where they said, yeah, we'll share that with you. You have a warrant, but there was never a court order, and a lot of people, that really irritated a lot of people, which I understand.
Irritated me. I mean, well, I've even said I'm not buying Liberty Safe. I mean, I'm mad, but go ahead.
Right. No, I think that's good. I think it irritated everybody, and rightfully so. But then Charlie Kirk got involved, and of course he runs Turning Point USA, and he ran into the FEC. He did some research in the FEC, and he found that the new owners of Liberty Safe were heavily donating Democratic. And he released the list, and we covered it on this channel. So if you want, you can go back because we've got episode after episode on my channel and on this one. But the big important thing were the names on that list, and that's where I think we need to have a little bit of a conversation. Again, adding some context, because I covered on my channel, Tim, all these dots are starting to line up, and it's pretty easy to connect them. But essentially, when you're talking about the donation list that the group that owns Liberty did, there were some very big name Democrats on there. And when you look at that list and you correlate that to the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, which is Democrat run, there's a lot of things that are very questionable, particularly with the things that they're just now putting in discharge petitions to force through the Congress underneath Speaker McCarthy. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Did I miss anything crucial, you think, Tim?
I don't think so.
Anything? Okay. So here's what they're trying to do, and this is an important piece to understand of why this is so massive. There's something called Ethan's Law. Now, Ethan's Law is something that the left always does. They put a victim on something terrible that happened, and they put the name on the law to make it have some sort of meaning. So this is Blumenthal, Murphy, and Delorio, lead colleagues in reintroducing Ethan's Law, which is a safe gun storage legislation. That's the big problem. When you have the safe storage legislation that mandates safe storage, you can start to see where those exact same donations were given to the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, who are now pushing this law. I think that's the important piece. And here's what Ethan's Law actually does, if you guys are not familiar. The bill would create federal requirements for safe gun storage and establish strong penalties for any violation. So when you look at these dots, Tim, it's hard not to draw a correlation to mandatory safe storage requirements and safe sales.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a natural dot connection that most rational, logical people would make. Now, is that the intent? We honestly don't know, but it does not look good.
Correct. And I'll be the first one to say right now, if you are with Liberty Safes or the owner of Liberty Safe, you are welcome on this channel, and I will ask you questions. I'll be fair to you.
We'd love to hear what you have to say in your defense. We really would.
Genuinely, I really would. But when I'm looking at this from a very high level, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out that this seems to have a direct correlation from A to B to C. You know what I'm saying, Tim? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't look good. I mean, like, at the best case scenario, it doesesn't look good. Worst case scenario, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
but
I would agree. It does not look good. And, you know, has Liberty even made a statement about this? Because I know you talked about it. I have not seen it. Not many people are talking about this. I'm wondering if it's even made it back to them.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if they've seen it. I have not seen any statement on any type of donations. I haven't seen a statement on why they did it. I haven't seen explanation of anything, but there's no doubt it happened. And so it's kind of two things here that really, I think that's an important piece to do here. And the key is when you're looking at Ethan's Law and you're looking at the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, which legitimately puts forward every single assault weapons ban, every single safe storage law, the 1,000% tax on ARs, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out, right, Tim?
No, actually, Watson, you are absolutely correct. It would seem that the dots naturally connect themselves. It's a reasonable conclusion, I would say.
Spitzbot. Exactly.
Oh.
It's hey, you know what?
Props.
Hold on.
We got props.
That setup was legendary. I'm so excited about it.
Oh,
but
boy.
honestly, Tim, I mean, like, you can keep the hat on because it looks good on you.
I like it, yeah.
But I mean, it's really hard to wiggle out of this. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
I don't see how you could. I mean, of course, if it does make the liberty, I mean, again, not many people in the media and stuff are talking about this just yet, or may never. But if it does make it back to them, perhaps they will issue a statement, because I really like to see what they're thinking. But what we have so far is that Liberty Safe was purchased by another company. The company has ties to Democrats. We don't know if they have any ties to Republicans. We talked about that in the last video, but there's information out there showing their donation to Democrats. But there are people out there saying that it's a very left-leaning organization. The group that owns Liberty Safe is very left-leaning. And then you see these contributions, then you see this Ethan's Law connection, and things really don't look good. They just don't look good. But again, we don't honestly know. So
yeah,
it's tough.
And hey, Tim, here's a crazy question out of the box. Then we'll wrap. What would be required in order to have a mandatory legislation safe storage law? What would be required to know that those guns are being locked up?
Well, you need to have registration of gun owners. You need to have registration of firearms. And then if you're going to impose stiff penalties, there might be some other amendment issues, Fourth and Fifth Amendment issues out there that will also get trampled by such law. Because if you take a look at what the UK has done, when I was in Germany, I was talking to a German police officer, and you will literally, because they have safe storage laws, and then if you get tapped to be interviewed, they will just out of the blue send enforcement officers to your house. You have to open your doors. They get the right to come in and go through your house and make sure that every firearm that's registered is in fact in a safe storage environment. And so, do you really think that's a good idea? Just to let the police knock on your door and say, "Hey, we're here, at a random check, and we just need to come into your house, and you need to open up your doors, open up your safes, and we get to pilfer through things and make sure all your stuff is where it should be, on top of the registration scheme." I can't imagine anybody would go for that except rabidly anti-gun people that just hate guns and gun owners. But
which is ironic because they don't have guns to be put under an inquisition. Weird.
Yeah. So it's it is not a good idea by any stretch, and the fact that they're trying to push this through under the pretense of just reasonable restrictions. It's for the kids. It's a safety law. It's just pure safety.
It's safety.
It just hopefully this goes down in flames, but I can guarantee you if it does not, if they somehow get the votes to pass this thing, when it hits the SCOTUS, it's going to run into some problems.
Well said, Sherlock. Well said.
Second,
well said.
Fourth, fifth. We'll just take the whole entire Bill of Rights. They're just going to go after it all.
Just take all the Bill of Rights. Let's just go down the list and just do a checklist of how many times you screwed this up.
They'll put a police officer in your home in a red uniform, like a red coat. Nice little white leather.
A red coat. Brass buttons. You know what? I think this is time to bring forward one of your flawless outros, Tim. I'm excited.
No pressure.
I'm excited for this. Yeah. I'm so hoping you mess this up.
I'm not going to, because I can keep it short. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.